hey, we're a church. Can we get grants to help with our building fund? I know there are grants out there.
What's going on?
It's a question I get way too often. And I just want to be nice and clear and concise and say no. At least not in the way that you think. Getting grants for church building projects is very, very challenging and not really that common. I want to talk about 3 reasons why that's the case and 3 solutions to help you get to your building project quicker. So let's get into this here. Well, hey there, welcome to the Nonprofit Missionary Podcast. We are here to help churches and faith-based nonprofits become missionaries to their community by establishing faith-based nonprofits, securing funding, and focusing on long-term outreaches to their community. So, a question I get a lot is about building projects. Because I am a pastor, I'm also a missionary, but my primary focus right here is grant writing. And so a lot of times people will ask me, so wait, is there a grant out there for a building project? We're looking to renovate our church, our HVAC is going out, we're getting a leaky roof, whatever it might be. There are so many different things with our building that we're looking to improve. And I know there's grant funding out there. Can you help us find it? And I'm here to say no, because my inbox lights up. Every once in a while, I'll go out there and say, hey, I'm a grant writer. If you need support, let me know. And when I do that, my inbox lights up with this same question. Can we get grant funding for this? Can we get grant funding for that? And one of the things that comes up a lot is building projects. And it's just really challenging. And I want to give 3 reasons why, but not just say, stop talking to me about this, because while it's a problem that a lot of churches are trying to fix, and I understand it because building projects are expensive. Materials are expensive. I'm sure, especially over the next several months, things are going to get more and more expensive with the whole tariff thingy and the uncertainty with the economy. But I also want to be real with you. I want to give it to you straight. And I also want to just give you more practical solutions to help you reach where you need to go. So let's talk about this. Number 1, and this is kind of the main reason, it's not necessarily a church thing, but it's a foundation thing. A lot of foundations do not give towards capital campaigns. So when you're looking at a building project, however big or small, it's a capital campaign project. Whenever you're talking about renovations, purchasing large equipment and furniture, it's considered capital campaigns. If you're looking at federal grants, they consider anything that you're using for more than a year a capital expense or an equipment expense, depending on whatever grant you're using. So with that in mind, if you're looking at any type of building project, it's going to be considered a capital campaign. Now, every single foundation has what they do and do not fund. Most of the time, what they fund is specific towards an area, a region, a specific cause area, whatever it might be. Every single foundation has what they do and do not fund. So for me here in Cleveland, a lot of the time it's Northeast Ohio or Cuyahoga County or just the city of Cleveland in general. They'll say that's what they fund. They only fund to 501c3s and they only fund towards education or whatever. And then they also say the types of things that they do and do not fund. Years ago, a big thing that people didn't fund was general operating support. COVID has changed that a little bit because a lot of nonprofits weren't able to do the programming that they needed to do, but they still needed to pay people. So foundations have become a little bit more flexible with that. But a few things that they do not do. Lobbying is typically one, so you can't use funding to lobby for specific bills, which I've talked about lobbying in a previous episode. If I can figure out how to pop it up there, maybe I'll do it there or there, wherever it goes. But also fundraising, which I talked about also in a previous episode about, actually last episode, when it comes to why grant writing has to be a paid service and not a commission-based service. So there are so many different things that foundations say that they do not allow as a typical grant. So, and also sometimes they will limit how much you can do in certain areas. So sometimes they'll cap how much you can do for personnel, indirect expenses, things like that. But one of the common ones is that they do not do things for capital campaigns. And part of that I'll get into a little bit later, but it's just important to know that foundations typically don't allow that. Are there grants for building renovation? Yes. But typically not what most church people are asking for. A lot of times it's more for historical preservation. So I know of a church here in Cleveland that just turned, I think, 110 years old, and they got a grant to help restore some of the historical pieces of their church building, not necessarily to redo stuff. So that's something that's there, or if you're looking for something that's trying to help your church to become more ADA compliant or something like that, could help. But when you're talking about just a general renovation, most foundations, most grants will say capital campaigns are not a part of that. And I think it'll make a little bit more sense when I talk about number two, or reason number two, why it is very hard to get building funds for churches. It's really hard to justify the difference between helping your church and helping the community. When you're talking about renovating a building, yes, it's helpful to host whatever nonprofit you're doing, but also the way that the foundation sees it is that you're not helping the community, you're helping such and such church. And it's hard, and a lot of foundations will not give to churches, period. Even if it is for something for the community, some don't give to churches at all. And it's really challenging to kind of show the difference between how this is helping the community versus how this is helping your church. And I talked previously that a lot of times foundations don't care to help you personally. While obviously giving you a grant is helping you personally, they are more focused on the bigger picture that's happening. They're more focused on how the work that you're doing is helping the overall community. Therefore, when it comes to just helping with your building, they don't care how the building looks. That's not to say that they want you to be in some dump, but if you need a new HVAC, their expectation is that you can handle it based on the reserve funds that you have, based on the different connections that you have outside of foundations. They don't want to be relied on in that way. And also when it comes to foundations, they're more focused on the impact that you make towards the community, not the building itself or the operations itself. That's why for a long time, general operating support was kind of a no-no in the grant writing world. I, for one, am grateful that's changed a little bit, but it hasn't fully changed. There are some places that will not just give you general operating grants. They really want to make it more project or program specific. But also that's fine, because every foundation does things differently. Now, I understand that a lot of you guys that have churches that also host faith-based nonprofits, whether it's a faith-based nonprofit as an outreach of your church, or you're hosting, let's say, a homeless ministry, or Boys and Girls Club, or Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever. I know sometimes you can be this isn't necessarily for me, it's to also help them. And I get that, but there's too much overlap. There's too many things happening at the same time. It's really hard to kind of make the distinction that this is just helping your organization versus this is helping the community. So building funds are really hard to get because of that reason. And it's not just churches, it's really any organization. It's really hard to kind of show the difference between how this is going to impact the community versus how this is just going to impact your organization. And really, if it's something that's just going to impact your organization, Foundations prefer for you to try to find those funds through individual givers, through corporations, through places that have a little bit less restriction on how they can hand out the funds and things like that. So it's hard, and I know it's challenging. I know it's frustrating to hear some of this. I'll just give one more though. Number 3, no relationship equals no money. A lot of the people that are coming to me asking about grants, they don't have people in mind. They don't even know if there's any foundations that do this. They say usually some form of, I know there's money out there. And I agree that there's money out there, but not in grants. I know that there's money out there, and you know where that money probably is? It's in your congregation. I'll get to that a little bit later. But if, let's say, you have a building project that's going to cost $250,000, and you're going to a foundation for $100,000, you've never interacted with them before, you've never met any of the people before, but yet you're asking for them to help replace your roof for $500 or for $100,000. Think about how that's going to sound to them. Oh, who's this random church that thinks that they're going to get that money from us? It just doesn't go well. Building a relationship like that takes time, it takes intentionality, and it takes effort. Like I said before, most foundations don't give towards capital campaigns. Some will make exceptions for those that they have strong relationships with. And a lot of the foundations that I look at and continue to build a relationship with, on their applications, they say they do not give to capital campaigns except for in rare occasions, or except for maybe in these scenarios. Most do not give it cold. So when it comes to grants, and this is not just a building fund conversation, this is with grants in general. You know, the highest level of success that you'll have with grants is those that know who you are. Those that can explain your cause, explain your program, explain your organization because they've been there, because they've talked to you first. So even before you start applying into places, whether you're talking building project or not, you really need to build that relationship. I can tell you this, the odds of actually getting funded will go up tremendously just by doing that one thing, just by having a phone call and telling people about what you love to do. Like, that doesn't sound hard, right? Give the person a call, shoot them an email, send them a Zoom link, send them your Calendly so that they can just set it up whenever you're available. Whatever it might be, whatever the best process is, just take a couple minutes and do it. But no relationship really means no money. Not just with capital campaigns, especially with capital campaigns, but also just with grants in general. Take the time, build a relationship. That way you can meet them before you apply. And then when you apply, either they'll give you the yes or the no. The yes will be, thank you, let's continue to build this relationship. No will be like, hey, let's have a meeting and I want to continue to try to build this relationship. How can I improve in the future? Just have those conversations. Do the hard thing. I know sometimes that can be really struggling and hard, but do the hard thing. Okay, so now that I have lovingly completely destroyed your hopes of ever getting grant funding from any foundation to help with your HVAC or with your roof or to get a new carpet, let's talk about some ways that we can actually make it happen. Because like I said, grant writing can be hard to find it, but I'm not saying it's impossible. I think the money is out there and I think the money is closer than you think. Let's look at a couple ways that I think that can really work. Number one, raise the funds within your organization. Talk to the people in your church about it. And I know people say, well, yeah, we're doing it, but we're not really getting much traction. Okay, I understand that. Sometimes it takes a minute. And I would encourage you not just preaching it from the pulpit. We're having a strategically placed 6-week series on generosity, but talk to people one-on-one. The most effective way of fundraising in general is sitting down with someone and talking to them one-on-one, as opposed to sending out social media blasts, sending out emails, sending out any type of mass media. Talking to them one-on-one, hearing their heart and saying why it's important to give. and especially hearing it from their pastor, hearing it from a leader in the organization, it'll go so much further. Also, I don't want to minimize the impact that having buy-in can do. Think about the person that says, hey, I'm going to give, and I'm going to sacrificially give to help make this building project possible. And then they make it happen. Don't you think they're going to be much more invested in your church? Don't you think they're going to want to stay? Don't you think that they'll feel like this is something that we did together, as opposed to this random grant just kind of happened with us? Like, it becomes more of a collective effort as opposed to just, oh, we're just going to get the money nice and easy. I think it can create a long-term impact in that way, where little Johnny can say, yeah, I gave $10 for Sunday school to help make this building project happen. Here I am 20 years later, still a part of this church because of that. Don't miss on those opportunities. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen at all. Give your congregation a lot more credit than you think. I believe that this is one of our values here at Nonprofit Missionary, that there is an abundance of funding out there. And most of the time, it's within the people that you already know. The foundations that you might have a little bit of a connection with can help you with some of the other stuff. But I believe if you're a pastor of a church and you're looking for a grant for a building fund, I would say start with your congregation. Number 2. I'm going to encourage you, because this is going to sound selfish and it's going to sound very counterintuitive, but I can tell you that it's worked because I've seen it work. Number 2, give to missions. Like, wait, why am I giving money to help with a building campaign? Shouldn't I be keeping more? God's economy doesn't make sense in man's eyes, but it works. What I want to encourage you to do is make an intentional effort to give more towards missionaries. There's a study out there, I should find it because I've referenced it several times in other places. There's a study not even within the church walls, but a study that's been done with just giving in general. People that give tend to save more, tend to have higher net worth and everything like that, just by having the mentality of giving. If you can inspire your congregation to start giving towards causes that are outside of the church walls, how much more do you think they'll give towards something that's important for the church itself? If you create a culture of generosity by saying we are going to support 10 more missionaries this year, and this is the reason why, I think it's just going to have such a bigger impact, much bigger than anything else could ever have, bigger than a grant could have. I know sometimes it doesn't really make sense. I know looking at it, and you're like, well, I need an extra $10,000. Why am I going to spend $5,000 to help get people on the mission field? Trust me, people will become more generous. I know of churches in my very own backyard that did this exact same thing. They were intentional about giving to missions, and not only did they get the funds that they needed for their building project, they got it quicker than they originally anticipated. So take some time and think of a way that you can be more generous. If you're a pastor, I wouldn't even just start with, we have to do it from the church. Start with your own wallet. Give to missionaries personally. If you don't, you should be anyway. Don't wait on your board to approve all of this stuff. Just do it out of your own pocket and be very vocal about it. Tell people that this is why I'm doing it. I'm having a heart of generosity. Because trust me, when you do that, it changes everything. We say it all the time when it comes to tithing. We tell people God can do more with 90% than you can do with 100. Now, beyond that, we have to continue to just show the importance of generosity and how God's economy doesn't necessarily make sense. You give this amount, give this away, and somehow God returns it, whether it's with like a random check that you weren't expecting, whether it's with someone becoming more generous in the church. Trust me, it works. I've seen it work. So be more generous and watch how God can move that. Last but not least, number 3, I want you to over-communicate and create a very detailed plan of how this is going to work. Sometimes people really need to see everything itemized. If you're saying we need to raise $250,000 to renovate the church, for a lot of people that just seems like a very big nebulous type of number. I don't know if nebulous is a word, but whatever. However, if you say we need $10,000 for HVAC, our carpet's going to cost $6,000, our chairs are going to cost $3,000. People can then take a little bit more ownership on specific aspects of that. And if you're looking at it and you have that detailed plan and then present that to the church, people will be like, okay, yeah, I want to take the carpet. In fact, maybe I know a carpet guy. Oh, I want to take the HVAC because I get cold in this church and I don't want to be cold in December. So I can be like, hey, I helped make it not cold here in this church. People can kind of take ownership of a specific aspect of it and it can make a difference. If you have specific numbers and you know what your total is, then you can also break it down in, we need 5 gifts of $20,000. Create tiers with it. And so once you have that plan, once you've kind of figured out what you need to make it happen, the biggest thing is communicate it. I don't know if you know this, but the average churchgoer nowadays goes less than 2 times a month. And that means that if you are announcing something once a month, they're probably only hearing it about once a quarter. So you've got to over-communicate it. You have to say it. If you're not saying it from the pulpit weekly, you have to have ways that you're communicating it, whether it's through your social media, whether it's through newsletters, whether it's through text message. You have to make sure that people know where you stand, people know where things are. Having a detailed plan, and you could be like, well, we have all these tiers, and we had 5 gifts that equal $3,000, so that's limited these. It can give good updates. It can keep the momentum going. But you have to make sure that you are communicating it. Don't think saying it once is enough. And also, mix up how you're saying it. It shouldn't always be the same person, and it shouldn't always be the same way. If it's part of announcements and people are like, well, okay, so the building campaign is at $10,000. We have raised $5,000 so far. We need you to keep giving. Like, it doesn't make sense. Have some fun with it. It's not something that you're just like, if you make it a burden, it's going to become a burden. Have fun with it. Make challenges with it. Challenge your congregation to just have fun and see the value in it. So when it comes to building projects, yes, you may not get grant funding. Could it happen? Sure. But it's very rare. But I think having a building fund is a great opportunity to steward generosity within your church. It's a great opportunity for you to connect with people more one-on-one about asking them to join in what's happening. And it's a great way to just have some fun and creativity and see how God can move in that way. I think it's also a challenge for you as a pastor to say, God, how am I not being generous enough? And how can I do more? Am I giving to missions the way that I need to be giving? Am I giving to these local nonprofits that are doing great things for the kingdom? Am I just kind of sitting by and doing nothing? Do I need to be more involved than what I'm doing right now? Am I stewarding a vision and a mission of generosity, or am I just asking people for money? Am I joining the cause? Am I telling people why it's important that we need this new building? Why we need a new carpet? Why we need this sound equipment? Whatever it might be. Are you doing that? So I think once we have those in place, God will move in tremendous ways. And look, you may not be able to get a lot of building grant funding from me because I don't really do that. I can help you with other things. If you are looking to launch a new nonprofit, hit me up. if you are looking to grow your existing nonprofit in program funding, in just strategy, in some coaching, I can help you with that. Hit me up at nonprofitmissionary@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, nonprofitmissionary.com. We would love to connect with you and just kind of talk through some of the things that we have available. So yeah, we will be launching videos every week here, so please subscribe. And until next time, stay faithful, stay focused, stay generous. God bless you guys.